All the programs meant to help people with disabilities are just bending them over and like bubbling in a prison, just ramming it up there. That's what's happening, and it's horrible. And they go out in the real world as they're getting rammed, and they think they got coddled, they think they got helped, right? And they go out in the real world, and instead they get a harsh twist of reality that real bosses, real jobs don't coddle you. What's up, guys? Welcome to Goals First. I'm your host, Plutus, and today we're going to dive into why bullying is good. I know, very counterintuitive. So I want to talk about this a little bit, and I got 2 lives going, so if anyone's listening, drop a comment. I'll try to answer. So why do I say bullying is good? So when you're getting bullied, it's either going to correct the bad behavior or it's going to teach you to stand up for yourself and back a good behavior, one or the other. So you think about it, people go, oh, like they want to like tattletale, like teachers get involved, like stupid shit. And this idea of coddling, like you have to make sure nothing bad happens to the poor little child, or, in the workplace, in colleges now. In college, they have like safe spaces. And if you have like an IEP, like an individualized education plan, you get special treatment. All these things don't prepare you for the real world at all, not even slightly. So it doesn't make sense. So think with this, bullying will either correct, I repeat this again, bullying will either correct a bad behavior or teaches you to stand up for a good one. So let me give you an example about myself. When I was a kid, this sound used to make me crazy. What's up, Peyton and Jacob? This sound used to make me nuts. Just rubbing your hands together and making that frictiony sound right in the mic so you guys can hear it. So, me being the untrained Plutus that I wasn't back then, I was just an average Joe, no good. I would tattletale. Now, the more that I would tattletale and the more I would get pissed off at people making that sound, the more they would do it. So essentially what was happening was I was freaking out because someone was making a sound I didn't like. So via the bullying, making fun of me being a tattletale, it got corrected. The behavior was corrected. And that's how it works. So, now I get, someone's going to watch this podcast or video and be like, well, what about someone who's like mentally retarded and can't help it? Well, you can't use one weird example to make an argument. Like, that's just not how things work. That's like the argument where it's like, oh, this group of people is bad because a few of those people do bad things. Like, no, it's a bad argument. But overall, when someone has a behavior that's not good and you correct it through, the group rejecting the social behavior, the person learns to adapt and improve their behavior. I know this from my own experience because of things I've experienced where, people reject my behavior and I realize, hey, I got to change the behavior. Or sometimes what you're doing is fine. And maybe, what you're doing is not bad behavior. And that teaches you to stand up for yourself, which is just as important. You got to stand up for yourself, which, Peyton, I would love to add you, but this is a live for the podcast. So I cannot. But please keep watching and comment. I will respond to comments. So it makes you stronger. Now, another example of how bullying corrects behavior. And this is why people need to get out of this mindset of like, you got to stop the correctness culture, this like cancel culture, and this like everything has to be nice. You have to coddle to people that have special disabilities. And no. If you have a disability, you should be thrown into the fucking fighting zone even harsher because it'll make you stronger and more adept to the real world you're going to be facing. What's up, Sean? Welcome. So here's another example. It's a personal example. So anyone that listens to my podcast, you guys know I talk fast, okay? I talk even more fast, and I used to be very annoying. Like, I would want to chill with people, and I'd be hitting them up like, yo, let's chill. And, me hitting people up nonstop to chill versus me talking fast, it got kind of annoying. So by people bullying or being mean and pointing out to me like, hey, man, you're talking too fast, I learned to talk slower. Or at least, I still talk fast because people like when I do it now because I pronunciate my words. But I learned how to pronounce words, so I made it a strength instead of a weakness. Now, what if the bullying didn't happen? What if I just kept talking fast and no one ever made fun of it? Picture this world. Me, Plutus, your favorite talk show host, never got bullied for talking fast, okay? Well, then I would have never known it was bad if no one ever corrected it. If, bullying is a form of pointing out something wrong. So if no one ever corrected the behavior, how would I have known it's wrong? If you walk around going, making farting sounds all day, and everyone just acts like it's okay, you would never know it's wrong. The way people find out something is wrong is by being corrected. And bullying is a form of correction. So there's 2 kinds of people that get bullied. There's really 2 when turned to adults. There's the kind that become strong, resilient, and motivated. Like, I bet you the average millionaire was bullied as a kid at some point. Maybe they had acne, maybe they were fat, maybe they talked fast, maybe they couldn't make friends, whatever the hell it is. They used that bullying and they got stronger, like me. I faced some shit. I dealt with some shit, but it made me strong. It made me a man. I knew how to respond to people better. It made me more charismatic. It made me more likable, because all these things that happen give me a way to like interact with people and realize, what works and what doesn't work. It's like trial and error. Bullying is a trial and error. You ever realize that? It's trial and error, because you try new things, and then what doesn't work is an error, and you correct. And if no one ever corrected you, how would you find out? It doesn't make any sense. Now, the other type of person, so the first one I named that got bullied is the person that's really resilient and strong later in life. They get stronger and they have thick skin. So they start a business, because guess what? When you're a bit millionaires have the thickest skin, because every day there's some bullshit. People hate them for being successful. People hate them for this. People want to shit on them. People want to tear them down. And to be successful, you have to have thick skin. That's why a lot of people that are millionaires and are really successful, were bullied as a kid, because they learn how to let things that don't matter slide off of them. People want to talk shit. Okay, good for you. I'm still richer than you. I'm still more successful. People that are bullied and being fitter, they're better looking, they're healthier, they think faster. It's great. Now, the other kind of person that got bullied as a kid turns out to be, let's give an example. Someone that got bullied as a kid turns out to be the CEO of Twitter. What's his name? Jack Dorsey, that little bitch. And because he was bullied as a kid, he wants to control everybody now. So you got your liberal snowflakes who, because they were bullied, they now want to control everyone in the adult world. So you're the ones that realize, hey, the bullying made me stronger. Now I'm more powerful. I'm smarter. I can talk to people better. Now, the other end are the people that your school shooter types. Now, the school shooter types sometimes evolve into a CEO of Twitter or Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, or Jack Cucker Dorsey. And what they do is they want to change the rules for everyone else. They want to censor you. Censor. Think about all that censorship going on right now. The people that want to censor, the people that either are doing censorship or support censorship, or just people who were bullied as a kid. That's really all it is. They were bullied as a kid. So you got people like me who face some bullying, and now I'm like, okay, I let the little things roll off my chest. I don't give a shit. And you have people who go, I was bullied as a kid, so I'm going to make sure no one on my platform can say anything that I don't like or that I disagree with, because it's offensive. Well, you know what, dude? I think you're a little bitch if you support censorship. And so there's calls to action. You got to censor calls to action where someone's like, hey, go attack this person. That's a call to action. That's censorship. But to censor someone because they're making transphobic comments, screw you. So we got a comment from my buddy Peyton. Let's say you can politely correct someone without bullying them. Be clear, my friend. No, I'm going to actually completely disagree with you, Peyton. I love you, but I'm going to tell you why. So we had a comment. You can politely correct someone without bullying them. So yeah, you can. But what's going to be more effective? So let's say you have a friend who, I'll use myself for an example. I always talk fast, right? So imagine if people are like, hey, man, you should talk a little slower because it's hard to understand you. I'm going to be like, dude, screw you. I'm not talking slower. But if someone goes, dude, you talk so fast, you sound like you're retarded. Well, that hit a little harder home, calling me retarded because of the way I speak. So now I'm actually trying to speak better because I got bullied. I got a harsher push. Think about it. So your reality goes by pushes. So if someone hates you with a soft push, hey, please, and again, I love you to the person that commented, you're a great guy, but I just fundamentally disagree. If it's a slight push, hey, man, please talk slower. It's kind of hard to understand you. I'm just going to not give a fuck. But if I get a little harsher of a comment, like you sound like you're autistic, then I'm like, well, I don't want to sound autistic. I better speak better. And that's why. Anyway, on to the next part of this. So, sorry, just to loop back. So the people that get bullied and it carries into their whole life, they end up being these liberal snowflakes who want to censor everybody and say, you can't say that, you can't say this, you can't do anything you want. Do you mind screaming into the mic? Believe it or not, I am screaming into this mic, which is not connected to that. But it's all about the passion, brother. Turn the volume down. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so passionate. Well, I do. So then you get the people who spend their whole lives because they didn't like the way they're treated as a kid, trying to control everybody. You can't control your externals. You can't. And when schools and parents coddle their children, they set them up for failure. So I'm gonna give you an example. I was listening to the Wolf's Den, which is Jordan Belfort's podcast. And this guy came on, I forget his name, but he's like 23 years old. You've all seen him. He has the pranks where he's missing limbs. He's missing a leg and he's missing 2 arms. He's like little studs. And he dresses up like a zombie and crawls at people and goes, rah, right? You guys have seen the videos of this guy like scaring people at Walmart, scaring people in the elevator. Well, he's famous now. And his whole thing was he had 1 leg and he's missing his arms. And this guy who's missing limbs is a success story now because his parents from the start didn't coddle him. He was like the third of three kids or the fourth of four kids or whatever, and his parents just kind of threw him to the tigers, threw him to the wolves, and were like, "Listen, figure it out." And the reason they did this is because in the real world you don't get coddled for your disabilities. So some people have ADHD, some people have autism, some people have Asperger's, some people have, I don't know, maybe your own fucking creation like Tourette's burgers. I don't fucking know what you have, but maybe you're gay, maybe you're fat, maybe you're ugly. You can't be coddled as a kid. So when the school system or your parents coddle you, oh, if you get bullied, go tell the teacher, or I don't know what else is a good example. Maybe they coddle your whole life because you have this disability. They make you do things differently. Oh, listen, you have a disability, so we're gonna have to make the school adapt to you, right? The school's gonna have. How about this? I was in the IEP program, which isn't like for retarded kids. It's called Individualized Education Plan, and it was because I was a bad student, like ADHD type of stuff. Where I just didn't participate in class. I didn't belong with my peers. I wasn't turning in homework. So the school basically gave me like extended test time. The IEP concept might be the worst thing. Like if you're trying to figure out, okay, we have kids who are having trouble in school. How can we make sure they're fucked over for life? You would create an IEP program which coddles them. So like everything these schools do makes things worse. So now that they're getting kids, and the reason why it's horrible is it translates into college. So then the colleges look at the students at IEPs and they give them IEP as well. So what does this do? It gives them extended test time, gives them special note-taking privileges. It basically makes a teacher notify, like, hey, this kid in your class is kind of a retard, so you gotta teach him be special with this little retard because he can't handle it by himself. What the fuck? Can you imagine, like, should these kids go into the workplace completely unprepared to deal with the real world? Because all throughout high school, they got extended test time, they got special note privileges, the teacher would give them special privileges, I don't know, maybe the teacher would wipe their ass too, I don't know. But what this does is they have all these special privileges and they go in the real world to get a real job with real payment. And they go, I need extended time. I had an IEP in college and high school. And the boss is going to look at them and go, what's wrong with you? You're fired. It doesn't work. You guys like the Joker laugh there? I try to give you my best. So it doesn't work. I have this girl I know. I'm not gonna use her name because that would not be nice. But this girl I used to talk to, when I met her, she kind of has weird history where she had no friends. She's like, all my friends who I ever had, they ended up bullying me and taking advantage of me. Thank you, Peyton. I love the love, bro. I love the love. To the live chat, you guys, or keep it real. This girl who I had a thing with for a while, she told me she had no friends because they all took advantage of her. And her dad, she claimed her dad was abusive. He took advantage of her. And I started like questioning it. And it's like, well, they weren't like actually abusive. They were mentally abusive. So like, what does that mean? Your dad was mentally abusive. It turned out that I ended up on her long list of people that are mentally abusive. Why was I mentally abusive? Because I would encourage her to work out. I was like, hey, you want to be healthy? Why don't you execute on that goal and go to the gym and eat healthier? And like I would encourage her to be healthy, and she twisted that into me being mentally abusive. So I learned, unfortunately, after the fact when it was too late, that the same reason her friends were abusive, her dad was abusive, it was all the same shit. This girl just chose to victimize herself, and the victim mentality helps nobody. Imagine if instead of that, she took her dad's encouragement and she did something with it. She took her friend's encouragement and she did something with it. But instead, all these people who encouraged her, she twisted it in her mind and said, oh, they're bullying me. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Being a victim helps nobody. And to be clear, I'm not saying you should bully people. That's not the message here. I do not condone bullying. I'm just pointing out, as a society, coddling is wrong. You gotta let biology play out. The way biology plays out is if you have incorrect behavior, the people, your peers, correct it. That's how biology works out. So now it is a real cancelly topic. I hope they don't get canceled for this one, because I know someone's gonna report this, like, oh, he said the word he can't say that word, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Retard. I'm gonna say it for the people in the back again. Retard. Okay. So now we have this whole thing where like, or another one, midget twice, right? Now there's this whole thing where the word midget and retard are no longer correct. You can't say that. You have to say mentally disabled or this, that, other thing, or midget. Now, here's why I'm supporting the words midget and retard. They were medical terminologies for a while. Midget and retard were medical terms, and over the years, they switched it to different terms. Now, midget is little person or dwarfism, and retard was a broad diagnosis, and now retard is like mentally disabled, and there's a whole variety of things that go into that umbrella. So essentially what's happening in our culture is there's terms, right? And the term is used to describe something: midget, retard, etc. And over time, because that word describes something that society kind of realizes is an outlier, we decide, oh, that word's bad, so we have to change it. So it's this infinite loop. So we assign a word with, it's not inherently bad. Just a midget was somebody who is less than like 4 feet tall. Okay, that's what a midget was. But then because people started using it to make fun of each other, like, oh, you're a midget, or because retard, which is again a real medical definition, a retard is a condition, mentally retarded. Because we started using the word negatively, then the system said, oh, well, now that you're using retard and midget negatively, we're going to create a new word and put it in its place and say this is the politically correct term now. So now you can't say midget, you say little person. But here's why the cycle is stupid. Eventually, they're going to say, oh, well, now little person and dwarf is also offensive after it's been used for long enough. So people eventually get to the point where they go, oh, well, midget and dwarfism are offensive now, along with, sorry, midget's already offensive, but dwarfism and little person, now that's offensive. Now we have to create new words, just like retard. So, you know, being retarded was a condition, but now it's mentally disabled or whatever, autistic. So eventually we're going to have like the same shit happen, where it's going to be like, okay, now that we've used autistic and mentally disabled for a few years, now that's too offensive too. So now we're going to have to say like slightly mentally incapacitated. Like it's this infinite loop, basically. I know I'm like ranting here, but it's this infinite loop of just creating a new word to replace the former word, because the former word became a cancel culture word, and that's what's happening. It's a like, how about we just skip that loop and say, hey, this is the word, and it's okay if you're not retarded. What do you care? And some people that have the diagnosis, funny enough, and like I know, especially with Asperger's, right? I have multiple friends who have Asperger's, and they end up being smarter than everybody. They end up being more successful than everybody because they had to adapt and they weren't coddled. And the people that end up being losers their whole life are the ones that go, I have a mental illness and I can't do anything about it because I was labeled. And how about the ones that go, like the creators of Rick and Morty have Asperger's and they own it. They fucking own it. And they're like, yeah, it's literally in the show. They're like, I think there's a line in Rick and Morty where they break the fourth wall and they're like, this sounds like it's written by a writer with Asperger's, which is a joke and a reference to the writers having Asperger's, right? So you can have your disability or whatever you have, and coddling is not going to do anything, but just going balls deep and full force and saying, you know what, it is what it is, no coddling, you will succeed. And we can't get in this loop where we just keep creating new words, and now that one's too offensive. Like now we're getting to the point where you can't even say man or woman because you're assuming a gender. I mean, what kind of fucking world are we in where it just, I made the point. It's an infinite loop. And we need to stop. I call it the midget paradox, right? The midget paradox is a word like midget's created. It's a real definition. It describes a medical condition, and it becomes too offensive eventually, so they get rid of it. And they create a new word, a dwarf, and then that becomes too offensive. So they have to create a new word, a little person. Now eventually, the cancel culture 2020, 2021, no bullshit excuses, right? The snowflake liberals go, oh, well, no, that one's too offensive, and just a stupid loop. How about we skip the loop and you own up to what you are? I have this condition. That's what I am, but I'm me. I'm an individual, and then you prove yourself in the world as an individual, and that's what makes people strong. When you say we all have different wiring in our brain, right? Some people like me have this like high energy wiring. Some people are more reserved. Some people are drawn to music. Some people are drawn to religion. Some people learn by reading and they don't do any notes. Some people learn by taking notes. Some people learn by lectures. Some people learn by visualization, as in like graphs and stuff. We all learn differently and think differently. So you take your ways and you project it into the world. But then if someone's coddling you and constantly there's like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, and people project onto that. It's also that this culture projects, right? They're projecting because they're not happy and they're not secure. They're projecting that you need help so they can feel virtuous, right? All these losers. And the cancel culture people are truthfully just a bunch of losers. They're so bored that they need validation by acting like they're superior to everyone else because they use the proper pronouns. I said he, she, or what's it like? I don't even know these words. I can't make them up. I tried. That's that. Let me move on to the rest of my notes here. So you learn from your mistakes if they're pointed out. So what bullying does, and again, I'm not advocating to bully somebody. That's not what I'm saying. But like, listen, especially to your friends, you can don't go bully kids in school or whatever. That's not what I'm advocating. But to your actual friends, give them a little jab. Be like, listen, man, like it's okay to give your friends a little harsh jab. And what it will do is your friends, they'll kind of not freak out at it, but it corrects their behavior. And he's a businessman in a gamer chair. Yeah, I know. I'm a podcaster. I'm lots of things. So when you give your friend a little jab, let's say your friend's fat, and you give him a little jab, of course you're eating a cheeseburger, you fat fuck. Well, they'll laugh it off. They'll go home and they might cry about it. But guess what? Then maybe the next day they'll stop eating cheeseburgers and they'll go to the fucking gym. What's up, Mel? Welcome, welcome. And when you give your friends a little jab, it helps them, man. It really does. If that's the Mo I think it's my old roommate. And actually, he's a good example, right? So, I watch Mo, but this guy is a great guy right here. And when he won something, he'd never be that nice about it, right? I remember one time some kids were on our porch being stupid. He threw them off. He's like, listen, man, you're not answering my questions. Like, being harsh gets the point done. When me and Mo had conflict in our house, he would always be very direct to me and just say what's on his mind. Beating around the bush does nothing. Well, what justice are you doing your friends if you're going to beat around the bush? Shalom. Right. You get it. So now we got my other former roommate commenting, like a Jewish reference. It's great. It doesn't do anything to be nice, especially with your friends. You give a little jab. Now, for someone you don't know, you can take a nicer approach and be like, hey, man, suggestions. Maybe you would feel better if you ate a salad instead of a cheeseburger. You can give encouragement. And the point of this, again, is I'm not telling you to go be mean. I'm not telling you to bully people. Just the point of this is rejecting words because they're too mean, or rejecting concept, or rejecting, like, cancel culture needs to be canceled. Cancel culture 2021, new hashtag. Goals first. This is our new logo. You put the one up and you put like a goal post. Goals first logo. Cancel culture. We're done with it. Better than saying fat fuck, LMAO. I mean, listen, it's all about the approach to my commenters. So like I said, you can't coddle people. Here's trying to wrap it up. You cannot expect the world to adapt to you. You have to adapt to the world. That's how it works. So, your whole school life, high school, middle school, college, the school adapts to you. They give you extra time on test taking because you have ADHD. And then you go in the real world, you get a real job. You don't get special time to trade stocks. It's like you're a finance major, right? You don't get like an extended time on the S&P 500 to trade like 100 shares of Apple. Like, excuse me, I need the market. Everyone in the market, please pause. Please pause because I need extended time because I have ADHD. Can you imagine that? Or like, I don't know, maybe you're operating, like, you get a degree in engineering, you're operating like machinery, and you go, hold on, I need extended time because I have ADHD. Like, some people died because you didn't operate the machine correctly. It doesn't work that way. You can't. Stop coddling people. And what I'm going to end this on is this. This all falls on one thing in my mind: the failure of our education system. I keep referencing the IEP because I experienced an IEP, individualized education plan. Things like this, all these little nuances that they put in the education system, they fuck kids up long term. They are destroying students' lives. All the programs meant to help people with disabilities are just bending them over and like bubbling in a prison, just ramming it up there. That's what's happening, and it's horrible. And they go out in the real world as they're getting rammed, and they think they got coddled. I think they got helped, right? And they go out in the real world, and instead they get a harsh twist of reality that real bosses, real jobs don't coddle you. And you know what happens when you expect coddlement and you expect everyone to adapt to you? Because I have ADHD, I have Asperger's, I have fat disease, whatever the fuck you have. They just reject you. They go, okay, well, you can go work somewhere else if you want to be coddled. This job has these requirements, and you're going to fill it or you cannot. And that's with anything in life. If you want to be, what I'm doing, a podcaster, if you want to be a musician, right? My buddy in the comments here, he's awesome musician, right? He grinded every day with the guitar and he got better and better. And imagine if he was just like, my fingers are too long, I can't do it. Then he just wouldn't have tried. Me, guess what? I'm pretty shitty at guitar. I have one right here, but I'm shitty because I'm not practicing. I can make every excuse in the book. My fingers actually are double jointed, and I have these like weird, I don't know if the camera in the back can see it, but I have this weird thing where my bones stick out, double jointed. And so at the end of the day, you can adapt to do what you want to do, or you cannot. That's really all. It's that simple. I can't phrase it any simpler. I'm going to end it on this note. If you have a goal in life, you can find the ways to do it. So Maybe you have a harder time focusing because you have ADHD. Okay, well, you need to find a better study strategy. Whatever it is you want to do in life, you can find a way to adapt your behavior to do it, or you cannot, and then you won't do it. It's that simple. If you want it bad enough, find a way. If you can't adapt, then you're burnt. Sorry, Charlie, sucks to suck. Um, Anyway, guys, I'm going to post this onto YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I know Apple separates their podcast for some reason from the Apple Music. It's a terrible idea, but they do. Anyway, guys, check it out. If you want to go to the YouTube channel, please subscribe. Well, wherever you're at, subscribe and share, because my viewership is small right now, and nothing helps better than people sharing. Sharing is caring, right? A little for purpose of my podcast, I'll be a communist. I want you to redistribute this, like how they want to redistribute wealth, redistribute Bernie Sanders, whatever. We're gonna redistribute Jared Plutus's podcast. Thank you, guys. Anyway, thank you for watching, everyone in the live. Love to all of you. Lane, Zach, what's his Lane Shay? I don't know which Lane you are, but I think I know who you are. Lane, Peyton, Sean was in here for a bit. Anyone on here? Thank you sincerely. And I will be live every Monday at 9 p.m. I will be on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you.